Good morning, boys and girls, or maybe it's afternoon. Anyways, hi. A special hello to Callie and Eva and Makoa and Max and Nicholas and Beck and Kieran and Makai and Kahlo. So I hope things are well with all of you kids. And I'm going to read you a couple of books today. The first one is by Dr. Seuss, and it's called The Lorax. So here we go. The Lorax by Dr. Seuss. At the far end of town, where the crinkle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing excepting old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. You won't see the Onceler. Don't knock on his door. He stays in his lurkum on top of his store. He lurks in his lurkum cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of muffed boof. And on special dank midnights in August he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks and tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you perhaps if you're willing to pay. And up at the top here it says the Onceler. That's where the Onceler lives. Then he pulls up the pail, makes a most careful count to see if you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you paid him away in his snurva, his secret strange hole in the garrulous glove. Then he grunts, "I will call you by whisper my phone, for the secrets I tell are for your ears alone." Slurp. Down slurps the whispermaphone to your ear, and the old Onceler's whiskers are not very clear, since they have to come down through a snurgly hose, and he sounds as if he had smallish bees up his nose. "Now I'll tell you," he says, with his teeth sounding gray, "how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long, long time back." Way back in the days when the grass was still green, and the pond was still wet, and the clouds were still clean, and the song of the soy swans rang out in space, one morning I came to this glorious place, and I first saw the trees, the tufula trees, the bright colored tufts on the tufula trees, mile after mile in their fresh morning breeze. In the fresh morning breeze. And under the trees I saw brown barbaloots frisking about in their barbaloot suits as they played in the shade and ate tufula fruits. From the Rapulus pond came the comfortable sound of humming fish humming while splashing around. Humming fish. But those trees, those tufula trees, all my life I've been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh buttermilk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what I'd do. I unloaded my cart. And there it says the Oncelers. In no time at all I had built a small shop. Then I chopped down a tufula tree with one chop. And with great skillful skill, and with great speedy speed, I took the soft tuff and I knitted a tree need. The instant I'd finished, I heard a gazump. I looked. I saw something pop out of the stump. Of the stump I chopped down, it was sort of a man. Describe him, that's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. Can you see him? Look, Lorax, I said, there's no cause for alarm. I chopped just one tree. I am doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a treed, a find something. That's all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat. It has other uses, yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, for curtains or covers, for bicycle seats. The Lorax said, Sir, you are crazy with greed. There is no one on earth who would buy such fool the need. There they are. But the very next minute I proved he was wrong, for just at that minute a chap came along and he thought that the tree I had knitted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. You poor stupid guy. You never can tell what some people will buy. I repeat, cried the Lorax, I speak for the trees. I'm busy, I told him. Shut up, if you please. I rushed across the room and in no time at all built a radio phone. I put in a quick call. I called up my brothers and uncles and aunts and said, listen here. Here's a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast. Take the road to North Nitch. Then turn left on Whippishaken, sharp right at South Stitch. And in no time at all, in the factory I built, the whole Onceler family was working full tilt. We were knitting thneeds just as busy as bees, to the sound of the chopping of tufula trees. Thneeds, I think it's called. And oh, baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now the chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So quickly I invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 tufula trees at one smacker. We were making thneeds 4 times as fast as before, and that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. But the next week he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, I'm the Lorax who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please, but I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloots who are playing in the shade of their barbaloots in their barbalus suits, and happily lived eating tufula fruits. Now, Thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough tufula fruit to go around. And my poor barbaloots are all getting the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. They loved living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried, and he sent them away. I, the onceler, felt sad as I watched them go, but business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies in tummies, you know. I meant no harm, I most truly did not, but I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factory, I biggered my roads, I biggered my wagons, I biggered the loads of the tweeds I shipped out. I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering, selling those needs, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Then again he came back. I was fixing some pipes when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. I am the Lorax, he coughed and he whiffed, he sneezed and he snuffed, he snuggled, he sniffed. Onceler, he cried with a gruffufinous croak. Onceler, you're making such smugurlous smoke. My poor Swanee swans, why they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in their throat. And so, said the Lorax, please pardon my cough. They cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape from the smog you smogged up around here. It's a long story. What's more, snapped the Lorax. His dander was up. Let's see a few words about gluppity glup. Your machinery chugs on day and night without stop, making gluppity glup, also sloppity slop. And what do you think to do with this leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old onceler man. You. You're glumpering the pond where the humming fish hummed. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed. So I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary, in search of some water that isn't so smeary. And then I got mad. I was terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax. Now listen here, Dad. All you do is yappity yap and say bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I intend to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering and biggering and biggering and biggering, turning more tufula trees into needs, which everyone needs. No more trees, no more needs, no more work to be done. So in no time, my uncles and aunts, everyone all waved me goodbye. They jumped into my cars and drove away under the smoke-smothered stars. Now all that was left neath the bad-smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorax and I. Oh man, not good. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance, just gave me a very sad backward glance. As he lifted himself by the seat of his pants, I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he hoisted himself and took leave of this place, through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. Ooh. And all that the Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks with one word: unless. Whatever that meant, well, I just couldn't guess. That was long, long ago, but each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away. Through the years, while my buildings have fallen apart, I've worried about it with all of my heart. But sure, says the Onceler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear. Unless somebody like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better, it's not. So, Catch calls the Onceler, he lets something fall. It's a tufula seed, it's the last one of all. You're in charge of the last of the tufula seeds, and the tufula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new tufula, treat it with care, give it clean water and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest, protect it from the axes that hack. Then the Lorax and all of his friends may come back. The end. I hope you made it through this long story. I have another story, and this one's shorter. And I thought it was a good story for kids in Hawaii because it's about something that kids in Hawaii don't have. It's called The Mitten. The Mitten is a Ukrainian folktale adapted and illustrated by Jan Brett. So here we go. Once there was a boy named Nicky who wanted his new mittens made from wool as white as snow. At first, his grandma, Baba, did not want to knit white mittens. If you drop one in the snow, she warned, you'll never find it. But Nicky wanted snow white mittens, and finally Baba made them. After she finished, she said, when you come home, first I will look to see if you are safe and sound, but then I will look and see if you still have your snow white mittens. So off Nicky went, and it wasn't long until one of his new mittens dropped into the snow and it was left behind. Uh-oh. A mole, tired from tunneling along, discovered the mitten and burrowed inside. It was cozy and warm and was just the right size, so he decided to stay. A snowshoe rabbit came hopping by. He stopped for a moment to admire his winter coat. It was then that he saw the mitten, and he wiggled in feet first. The mole didn't think there was room for both of them, but when he saw the rabbit's big kickers, he moved over. There's the rabbit. Hey, did you get what you're looking for?
No.
Oh, bummer.
I didn't order anything from Amazon.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what this is.
Next, a hedgehog came snuffling along, having spent the day looking under wet leaves for things to eat. He decided to move into the mitten and warm himself. The mole and the rabbit were bumped and jostled, but not being ones to argue with someone covered with prickles, they made room. Oh, did I miss a page? Anyways, see that? You see that? That's a hedgehog. As soon as the hedgehog disappeared into the mitten, a big owl attracted by the commotion, swooped down. When he decided to move in also, the mole, the rabbit, and the hedgehog grumbled. But when they saw the owl's glinty talons, they quickly let him in. Up through the snow appeared a badger. He eyed the mitten and began to climb in. The mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, the owl were all pleased. There was no room left, but when they saw the diggers, they gave him the thumb. They gave him the thumb. It started snowing, but the animals were snug in the mitten. A waft of warm steam rose up in the air, and a fox trotted by, stopped to investigate. Just the right sight of the cozy mitten made him feel drowsy. The fox poked his muzzle in when the mole and the rabbit and the hedgehog and the owl and the badger saw his shiny teeth. They gave the fox lots of room. A great bear rumbled by. He spied the mitten all plumped up. Not being one to be left out in the cold, he began to nose his way in. The animals were packed in as tightly as could be. But what animal would argue with a bear? The mitten swelled and stretched. It was pulled and bulged in many times its size, but Baba's good knitting held fast. Along came a meadow mouse, no bigger than an acorn. She wriggled into the one space left and made herself comfortable on top of the great bear's nose. Can you see it? The tiger, tickled by the mouse's whiskers, gave an enormous sneeze. Achoo! The force of the sneeze shot the mitten up in the sky and scattered the animals in all directions. As he ran, did I miss a page? I did. On his way home, Nicky saw a white shape in the distance. It was the lost mitten, silhouetted against the blue sky. He ran to catch his snow-white mitten. He saw Baba's face in the window. First he looked to see if he was safe and sound, and then she saw that he still had his new mittens. And that's the story about the mitten. And why was it that he couldn't find the mitten at first? Because there was no contrast between the white mitten and the white snow. So that's the way it was. Hope you guys have a pleasant day, and it'd be nice if we could all be back in school soon. Bye now.